Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we'll see about the Python introduction and some of the fundamental aspects of the Python. So first of all, you can simply go to the search tab and search for IDLE. Open that IDLE, which is the IDE of a Python, which is the development package or development editor. So first of all, you can see this triangular bracket over here where you can just write your commands. So from here you can write any arithmetic or logical expression. So let me say 5 plus 7, and if I just hit enter, you'll get the output of 5 plus 7, which is your statements. So this is your statement, and you can see the output which is just printed inside this cell. So this is cell, and you can write your command over here. So first command in Python is a print command, which will just print anything you just pass inside this parenthesis. So let me say hello world, and if I just hit enter, you'll see hello world has been printed in this terminal with this print command. So print is the command which will just print the value that is just passed to this print method. So print is inbuilt method in the Python. So next thing is you have to just open this file and press on this new file. You'll get this new window, and this is your script. So script is going to be those file where you can just write multiple line of code. So you can say that hello is one command, and you can say something like print 3445, the next command. So in the case of cell, you can only execute one command at a time, but in the case of a script, you can execute multiple commands. So you can see over here we have the print hello and the addition in the same file over here, which cannot be in the case of the cell. So next thing is to save this file. So I'll say that this is demo file, and just make sure you have to just pass py extension, which refers to the Python extension. So next thing is to go to the folder where you want to save. I want to save in the desktop, and let me just save over here. In order to execute this Python file, you have to simply press F5, and you will see the result that is printed in this cell, which is saying hello and 79. So this was the output of this Python script. So in this lecture we saw how we can just execute our command in this Python cell, and if you have multiple line of command, you have to create the new file which is called the script, and you can just inject all of your code inside there, and you can save it and run pressing F5, or simply go to this run and run this module with F5. And you can see the same output over here saying hello and 79. So this was the quick introduction about this Python cell and Python script. So in the next lecture we'll see all the fundamental concept of the Python. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about keywords in Python. So what are the keywords? So first of all, keywords are those type of words that are reserved in the Python. So you cannot use this type of words in your function name or variable name or any other identifiers. So these are basically reserved for their purpose. So Python has the 33 keywords in the Python 3.7. so they are all the case sensitive. So I have here the file here saying that this is the list of keywords. So you can see the false, class, finally. So these are the reserved word that is going to be used for the specific purpose. So you cannot use this file or this identifiers for any other purpose. So this is really important. So you can see these are the keywords. If you want to make, let me say, variable with the def, which is the keyword, and assign something value to it, it is not valid because you cannot use these keywords as your variable name. we'll see about this in the upcoming lecture in the detail, but for now you can see that keywords are the reserved word that cannot be used for any other purpose. They are basically doing only one task that is just defined specifically for their purpose. So you can see this true can be used as a boolean type only, so you cannot make variable name as true or function name as true. So all of these are your reserved word, which are normally called as keywords. So next thing is to see the statement. So let's see the statement now. Statement are basically the what we call, that is the Python interpreter execution instruction. So instruction that the Python interpreter can execute is normally called the statements. So we see the assignment statement now in this lecture. So we'll see that how multi-line statement can be assigned. So first of all, I'll just do some addition over here. 1 2, let me say 3, let me say add more. I want to add more, but I want to go down to this line, so that means I have to make use of this backward slash and go down. After that I can make use of 4 again, and I can make use of 5, add me 6, and if I just hit enter now, so this is your statement. So if I want to print the value of a, I'll just print a here, and it will show us a 21, which is the addition of all of this value. So if you want to make use of multi-line statement, you'll simply pass here backward slash and just complete your statement over here. So statement is simply an instruction that is going to be executed by your Python interpreter. So next thing is your Python comments. So let me say 5 add me, or let me say 5 multiply with 6. If I say this is going to give us a 30, but if I say hash first and 5 multiply with me 6, then it is going to give us nothing, because this is your comment. So comments are really important. We use this hash symbol for starting to write a comment. So comment are very important while writing a program. It will describe what's going on, so that a person looking at your source code does have the feeling that this code is about the task that is going to be executed. Or basically if you just put any statement starting with this hash symbol, they are comment, they won't be executed with the Python interpreter. That means this will be ignored by the Python interpreter. So let me just open my new script, and if I save this again, let me say demo.py, and py extension is important, and it is right here. So let me just replace it, and now it is giving us okay. So now if we have here the demo file, so we have 2 demo file, let me just close one. So now if I say that let me just print hello first, and let's go down here, and after that I have to just comment this out. This is print statement. If I save this and execute, then it is going to give us a hello, but not the error of this is print statement. If I just remove this hash, and if I save this, and if I just execute this, it is going to show us invalid syntax, because this is a bunch of a string over here which is created, which doesn't have any meaning. So if you want to give any information about the code, or if you want to just ignore that code to be executed by the Python interpreter, you simply put here hash to represent that this is your comment, and this won't be executed by the Python interpreter. And comments are for programmer, and it is to understand about the program. It is not for the Python interpreter. It will be executed only if you just remove hash. And if you want to give information about the code, you simply put hash and put the comment about what this code is going to do. In this case, this is the print statement that is going to be printed hello in the console. So this is your single line comment. We have a multi-line comment too, so let's see about that. So multi-line is basically, if you type here this is my comment, it is in a multi-line. That means if you just put here single hash, it is going to only comment this single line. Everything you write over here will be commented, but if you just go down here, it won't be commented. So if you want to just make a multi-line comment, all you have to do is put here multiple quotes and just close with these multiple quotes. And now if I save this and execute, this is not going to have any effect because this is a multi-line comment. And if you just remove this one and remove this, if you save this, then it is bunch of a gibberish that will show us invalid syntax. So in this lecture we saw how we can just work with the statements and how to work with the Python comments. So see you in the next one. In this lecture we'll see how to create a variables in the Python. So first of all, open your shell and give the variable name. So let me say name is my variable name, and let me say I want to give the name Sachin, which is my name, inside this double quote. So you can see inside this double quote we have passed something text inside here. That means this is a string. Like in many languages, it may be in the C, C#, or Java, we don't pass here semicolon to end the statement. In the case of Python, you'll simply pass nothing over here. In order to see the output, or basically the content of that variable, you simply give the name and it will show us a content. If you want to give or make a integer variable, let me say I want to make the math variable which will contain 8, and if I want to see the content of a math variable, simply pass the name as a math and you will see the content as 8. If you want to give the math variable the same variable but with the different value 8.9, then it will be changed directly to 8.9. So this is the dynamic programming in the Python. That means we can assign any value in the Python and it will be valid, which is not in the case of Java or any other high level languages. And Python being a dynamic type language, it will be just valid in the Python. So you can make different variable over here. So you can make a boolean type. So let me say honest variable, and if I say true, so make sure that T is capital over here because we have seen in the case of keywords. So this is basically a keywords, and keywords are a case sensitive, so that means this T has to be capital. If you make something like true, this won't be valid. And if you make something like, let me say again, honest is true, this is the boolean type. If you want to see the class or what is this type of honest, and it will show us a bool, which means this is a boolean. If you want to see this type of the math, which is obviously the float, and if I say math type, it will show us a float. So float is basically a decimal, which is basically, you can see the content of the math over here, which is 8.9, which is the decimal. So float is for the decimal. If you want to see the type of the name, you will see it will show us a string. So if I say type of the name, it will give us a class is a string. So type is another function or a method that is going to show us a data type. So we have now studied about the string, which is inside this double quote. Anything that is inside this double quote is a string. If you type something like, let me say, hey I am, then this is also a string. So anything that is inside this double quote, or it can be also the single quote, hey, hello, everything that is inside this single quote or double quote is your string. Another is your number, so anything that is 5 or 6 or any number, so that is your number. And next thing is your basically this boolean would be true or false. So you can see we have seen a bunch of fundamental data types over here. So let me save this first. So we have a bunch of fundamental data types. So we have seen about the integer, string and boolean in this lecture. We have to explore further data structures in the upcoming lecture, but for now you can see we can also do multiple assignments to the variable. So we have seen how to create the variable. It won't be something like starting with var or starting with integer or starting with string. It won't be in the case of the Python. In order to create the variable in Python, it is really easy. You have to simply give the name of the variable, and let me say I want to create the integer variable having the health of the character to be 90. So this is your variable. So if you want to check the health, the content of the health, you simply pass the name and you will see the content is 90. So this is the way to create the Python variable. If you want the multiple assignment to the variable, that means if you want to create variable a, b and c, if you want to create variable a, b or c, so it should be here a, b and c, and if you want to have the multiple assignment to this variable, instead of just creating one, you can just pass here something like 5, 7, or if you want to just pass string here saying hey, then you can do this. And now if you want to just check the value a, b, c, you can see it is 5, 7 and hey. If you want to see a variable, it is 5, b is 7, and if you see c, it will contain hey. So this is the multiple assignment to the variable, or basically the multiple variable. So we have a rule or naming convention to create the variable in the constants in all programming language, and that is the camel case. So if you want to create the variable name, make sure it makes a sense, because if you want to give the player character name, and if you just create the variable a, and if you say the player name this, so this doesn't make any sense. If you just see a, so it would make sense for you, but if you see that other programmer are using the same code of yours, they won't think that this variable a represents the player name. So make sure that every variable makes a sense. So if you say that name like this, or name of player, and give the player name, this will make really sense. So anyone will see your code will just think like, okay, this is the name of a player, and that will get the more sense to the other coder too, or maybe for yourself too, if you just go to the code back after a long time. So next one is to use the camel case. So camel case is really important notation to declare the variable, and it starts with the lowercase. So if you want to say create the name with the my age, so I'll say 89, and if I just print my age, then it is saying 89 over here. So this is your camel case that starts with the small or lowercase, and after basically one symbol or letter, you'll just make with a capital letter. So as to specify, these are the two words. So if you just end with, let me say, my and address, so after this one word, you start with the uppercase for the first letter, and you go with all the lowercase, and you just give your address. So this is the way or convention which will make much more sense, or basically will be more attractive when you just make your variable name. So next thing is to just use the capital letter whenever possible to declare a constant. So if you want to create the pi variable, which will be 3.14, it should be all in uppercase. This is the way to create the constants. So you can also see the gravity. If you see this gravity 9.8, this is your constant, which is in the uppercase, all in uppercase. And never make use of a special symbol in the case of making the variable. So making like my has is and 90, this is not valid. This is not valid in the case of Python. Never make use of a special symbol while creating the variable. So a special symbol can be like this exclamation mark, @ hash sign, or basically the dollar sign. All of these special characters are not valid or the percentage, modulo sign, this won't be valid in the case of the Python, because all of these had the special meaning in Python. So this modulo is for the division, and this dollar sign and this hash for the comment, this all have the special meanings, so you can't make use of this in the variable name. So next thing is that you do not have to start your variable with the digit. So if I say 9 my name, and if I say hey, this is not valid because you can't have the variable that is started with the digit. Next one is that we have to put the constants in the separate module, and we'll learn about that in the upcoming lecture. But for now, just remember, for the constants, it better is to make a simple Python file where you can have all of the constant sorted in that file, and we'll make use of that file as a constant file, and we'll import and use in the different file. So these are the type of basics and the naming convention that we have to follow while creating the variable name, and that is to make much more sense while creating the variable and working with the logic in the upcoming lecture. But for now, we'll see about the type conversion. So I'll just open this demo file, and or basically we'll just go with the cell, and I'll show you here. So let me clear this first, or let me just close out and open the new terminal or new cell. And now here all you need to do is, first of all, let me say input command. So input is going to input you something. So I'll say enter your age. So I'll just say this, enter your age, and let me say that it should be inserted in the variable name age. I've created the variable age, and with this input command, so same as print command, this input command is going to input, because this is also a method that is going to input. So print is basically consoling out, and print input is basically inputting out. Your commands are basically what you just pass here. So if I say enter your age, and if I say 56 is my age, and if I hit enter, and if I say this age, you could see that we have entered here that is integer, but it has reflected out as a string. So I have already told you in the before lecture that anything is inside this double quote is a string, and if you see that is this 56 is the integer. So if I say type, which is the method to check that, if I say 56, then it will get you a string, which is a string. So if I say type only 56, now it will show us a string, basically integer, because this is an integer. But if you just input here that is 56, the age that was integer, which was inputted as an integer, has been converted into the string, which is done by this input method. So now all you need to do is type conversion, or typecast this integer to our string to the integer, because we want 56 not as a string but an integer. So in order to do that, we have the couple of method for the type conversion. If I say is, and now you can see that this is, which was integer, which was a string, has passed into this int method to be converted from a string to the integer. If I hit enter, now this is, which was a string, has been converted to the integer. If you want that back, that is basically I will say is integer and age. So let's go back, and now if I say is now integer, but if you want to roll back to the string now again, you can do something like is str, which is another method to convert integer to the string or anything other to the string. So if I say enter again and see the age, it has been now typecasted to the string again, which was integer before, has been type converted or typecasted to the string. So these are the type conversion method which is done implicitly over here, which is converting integer to the string, string to the integer. We can also do boolean to string in this same manner, and this is the way to just perform some of the operations. In the next lecture we'll see output formatting, and we'll see how format method can be used in the next lecture. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we'll see about the formatting techniques of the string and some other operator operands concept in this lecture. So about the formatting, Python uses a C style formatting to create the new formatted string, and that can be done by using the modulus sign. So the modulus sign, that is this operator over here in the screen, is used to format a set of variables that is enclosed by the tuple, which is basically a fixed size list. We'll learn about the tuple in the upcoming lecture, but just remember it is a type of a list which is attached together with a formal string which contains a normal text together with argument specifiers. So let's learn about this and let's see how this %s and %d works together. So let's see and let's make a real quick script over here to learn about the formatting. So let me just press Ctrl N to create the new file, which is our script. You can also simply go to the file and create the new file to create the script. And let me just save this file as test.py, which is the extension of a Python file. Let's go to this desktop and save it here. So we want to just create the folder first, which will be the string, and I'll say John is inside this name folder. And now we have to make use of this print method, which is going to print us whatever inside the value is. So here I want to just pass hello, and I'll say hello is, and after that I'll say the exclamation mark or comma maybe, and after that I want to give this %s, which is a specifier over here, which is basically your argument specifier, which is the special symbol which will just replace our name now. So I'll just say that after this, let me just put here again the % and the name of a folder over here, which will be name. And now let me just close this print method. So what we have done here is we have just called this specifier, argument specifier %s, which is for the string. If it was case for the number, it would be %d. For now it is %s, which is for this zone. So let me just save this and press F5. Then you will see hello, it's and zone. So instead of this %s place, so let's go again back to this script now, and if you see the output over here, in the place of this %s we have just included the name, which is zone. So this is the formatting technique. We have made use of this formatting technique in this lecture by using this argument specifier, which is %s. So let's make another program using this same specifier, but now I'll just say name is re again, and now let me just add another, which is the integer. Here the age is 23, and let me just print again by formatting this. So I'll say %s, which is for this name Hari, and is %d for the age, and I'll say years old. So I'm just formatting over here, and now let me just close this with %, and now there is a two thing that need to be passed. So we'll just pass inside this parenthesis, that is name and the age. And let me just close first this parenthesis, and let's close this print statement too. So we have now created another program here using the same argument specifier, but now we have included both the string and the integer inside the same print statement. So let's save this now and press F5. Then you could see Hari is 23 years old, which has been replaced in here argument specifier. So instead of this yes, it will be Hari, and instead of this d, it will be 23. So this is basically your specifier for this argument, or basically for this value, name and age. So this is the one way to format the sentence. So there is another way to format this using the format statement. So we are going to do that in this lecture. So let's start this. So first of all, let me just create the script over here. So instead of just creating script, let's go to the cell and let's make a program right here. So I'll say x should be, let me say, 89, and y should be, let me say, 3. So if I just hit enter, now I have created x value and the y value. So let's print this in by formatting, basically using the string formatting technique. So we have learned by using the argument specifier %s and %d for the string and the number respectively, but now we'll make use of a format method in this section. So I'll say the value of x is, so now if you are using the format method, you have to give these curly braces, and y is curly braces. So instead of these curly braces, now we'll just add this format method, and x comma y will be passed over here. So now what we have done here is we have just print this string now, and it is saying the value of x is, and we have given the empty space over here where this x will be injected, and y is where y will be injected. But if you just change this value, so let me just pass here first y, then x, then the y value, which is 3, will be inserted in this x, and y has the value of x. So this format has to be in the order which you want to just pass your value. So in this case, I want to pass the x value, which is 89, in here, and y value is 3 in this specifier or in this placeholder. So we have to make use of this format method. So this format method is called upon this string. So whenever you are calling the method, which is the method of that class, which is this string, you are putting this dot or a period to call upon that string. So if I just hit enter over here, then you will see the value of x is 89 and y is 3, which is the value we just assigned over here. So we can do same of this by this format method. So let me create another program. So let me say like is Python. Now let's print saying I like and placeholder, which is basically the curly braces, and this is a string, and we have to call format method. So just give dot and format method should be called, and instead of this placeholder you have to pass here like. So let's close this and hit enter, then you'll see I like Python. So this is the way to format your string, and it is the best way to do that. So let's do something like, first of all, input something from the user and let's format that. So first of all, I'll say info, and I'll just call this method, which is input method, which is going to take a string from the user. So I'll just prompt a message saying enter your name, and now after they just enter their name, I'm going to strip all the curly braces. So here I'll say enter your name, and it would be Sachin, and if you just say this, then now if you see the info, it would be only Sachin. So it has stripped all the spaces that we just pass here by this strip method. So this strip method is going to strip all the spaces that you passed right here. So if you see any spaces has been just turned down, or basically has been erased in this info, and only Sachin has been entered. So let's format it. So I'll say print your name is placeholder, and call that format method, pass your name that user has just inputted, which is the info, and let's close this. Then you'll see your name is Sachin, which is the user just entered over here from the input method. So this is the way to format your output, which is the string. So basically we just made use of the placeholders and the format method and the argument specifier, that is %s and %d, in this lecture to just format the output. So in the next lecture we'll import some of the classes and we'll see the documentation how to do that. In the next lecture will be interesting lecture. See you in the next one. Let's learn about some operators that is available in the Python in this lecture. So first of all, as in always, we start with the addition. So we have the addition operator. So you can add any numbers. So this is to add two operands or a unary plus. That can be addition of a single operands. So the next one is a subtraction. So you can do this subtraction. And the next one is a multiplication operator, which is going to multiply the two operands. And next one is a divide left operand by the right one. So you can say something like 6 division of 3. It is going to give us the number in the float. So if you do something like 7 divided of 3, you are going to get the decimal 2. So this is the division. And the next one is a modulus, which is going to give us the remainder of the division. So if I say 78 divided by 9 and 78, and it is modulus to get the remainder, and you are going to get the remainder is a 6 because 9 8 is with the remainder of 6. You can just see over here. So the next one is a floor division. This is important. So when I just say 5 and divide this with, let me say 4, you are getting only 1. And this floor division is the division that results into the whole number adjusted to the left in the number line. So if I say that let me divide with 9, you'll get the gist over here. So it is giving us the whole number, that is the result. If you see 78, that is modulus of 9 was 6. So it is just erasing that remainder and giving us the whole number that is adjusted to the left in the number line. That means this 8 is given over here in the floor division, and we normally call this as a floor division. And the next one is our exponent. So when I say 9, and in order to do exponent, you have to just give this double asterisk. This is double asterisk and 2, and it is giving us 91 because 9 of power of 2 is 81, which is 9 multiplied by 9, which is 81. And this is the sum arithmetic operation that is given in a Python. And we have now the comparison operator. So comparison operator starts from the greater than sign. So if I say 4 is greater than 5, false, because it is not true. So this is the comparison. So you get the value as a boolean when you do the comparison. So next thing is, if 5 is greater than 4, yes, that is true. So next thing is, you can see the smaller. So 4 is smaller than 9, which is true. So this is another. So let me just clear this. So the next one is equal to. So if I say 5 is equal 9, which is false. If 6 is equal to 6, which is true. This is the double equal, which means that if this 2 is equal, so if you do something like 6 equal 6, this is not valid because you are just assigning here. So single equal means the assigning, you are just trying to assign 6 to the 6, which is invalid. So if you want to check 6 is equal to 6, that means it should be 6 equals 6. If I say something like A and B is 6 and 6, and if I check A is equal to B, it is giving us true because we have a multiple assignment of 6 and 6 to the A and B, and we are checking this condition, which is obviously the true. So next one is not true. So if I say A is not equal to B, which is false because A is equal B. It's same saying that 6 is not equal to 6 is not equal to 7, which is true because 6 is not equal to 7. So next one is greater than equal or less than equal, so it will just be something like 5 is greater or equal to 6, which is false because 5 is smaller than 6, so both of these condition is false. If I say something like 9 is greater or equal to 9, it is true because 9 is equal to 9, so either of these conditions should be true if this has to be true. So this is your comparison operator, and it is really easy and important, the comparison operator. So the next one is logical operator, and we have and, or, and not as a logical operators. So let's see how this logical operator work. So first of all, let me say something like A should be let me say 7 and B should be 8. So I'm just saying that A is equal, which is basically A equal or greater than 90, and B equal 8. So it is false. Here it is false. If you see here, we have given the two condition over here, which is saying, so first of all, let's see this one. It is saying B is equal 8. Here the B value is 8 and 8 is equal 8, which is equal. That means you can see this condition over here. When the two number are equal, it is going to give us a true. So this part is true, but here you can see that A value is 7 and 7 is greater or equal to 90, which is obviously false. So if any of this condition in the either side of AND is false, then it is going to give us a false. So if it has to be true, both of these conditions should be true in the case of AND. So if you say something like A is equal to 7 and B is equal to 8, then it is true because each of these condition, each of this statement is true. That means it will give us true. But if it is the case for the OR, I'll say 90 OR now, not AND, and B is equal 8, it is giving us true. So you can see here, if one of the condition is true, that means this OR will just make us happen that is true. It should not need that each of these conditions should be true. Either of these condition is true. It is saying something like this should be true or this should be true. If any of one of these true, then it is going to give us the true condition. That is for the OR. And in the case of a NOT, you can simply do that something like not of true is false or not of false is true. So this is basically the inverse of whatever you just pass with the not. So this is the case when you just see we have the logical operators. So we have checked here the arithmetic operators, we have checked the comparison operator, we have also learned about the logical operators and or and not operators. They are really important operators. So next thing is to learn about the import statement, which is really easy to use. So in order to do that, let me just create the new file, and over here let me just close this first one. Okay, we have here. So I'll just go to the help and Python docs, which is the document section. In the left hand side you have the module section. So goes to the module section. Let's go to the module section and just press R over here. So we have this R random module. So let's see this random module. So a random is basically a module. That means it is the class containing all of these methods. So everything you see here is inside this random. So if you want to make use of this random, or if you want to use this random inside your file, you have to first make use of this import statement. So if you say import and random, you are saying something like random is inbuilt. So this has been created by the Python itself. Computer scientists have created this random module for us. So as a computer programmer, what we need to do is simply use them. So in order to use them, you have to make use of import statement and the module that you want to use. So if you want to use another module, so let's go back, or if you want to just make use of, let me say, any of this module, so you can say, okay, I'm just going over here, and if you want to make use of ABC module, then you'll see simply ABC, and now you can use the methods or all the functions of this ABC module. But for now I'll just say random. And now let's go back to the documentation, and let's go again for this R and random, and let's go down here and see this rand range method. So I'll just say print me random, and if you want to use the method of this module, you have to give the dot operator, because it has shown us here that functions for the integer, and if you want to make use of that rand range, it should be random first, that is the module, give the period and rand range. We'll learn about this in the detail when we just touch the classes and object in the Python, but for now just remember we have to make use of this random module that we just use here, and dot and the rand range, which is the method inside this random module. So we are not creating any rand range method, we are just using that rand range from the random function or random module. So now we have to give certain things inside this rand range. So we have a start, we have a stop, and the step is optional. So anything you see inside this square bracket is optional. So we'll see start and stop. So I'll just say start should be 1, stop should be 6. So let me just print this, and let me save first, and let me just save 5, then we'll see 2. So what we are doing here is we are just creating, every time we run this program, it is generating the number from 1 to 5. Here it should be from 1 to 6, not 5, it should be from 1 to 6. So every time you just run this, new number arises. So every time you run this, okay, new number, and this new number again. So every time you run, it will be 1 to 6. So random is generating us a random number from 1 to 6. So this is the way to make use of this random. So if you just feel that random is too big to just write again over here, you can just give this random as R with this aliasing technique, which is just renaming your module with the name or with custom name, and now you can make use of R. Let's see, let's save this and run again, and it is going to give us a new number over here. So this is the way to import any module. So you can also import your math module. So what if I say import math, which is over here. So let's go to the documentation, and let's see for this random module, or basically math module. So it should be over here, math module, and you can now make use of all of these functions. So what if I just say math.self method, this method over here, then we have to make use of print method and math.ceiling, and let's give some decimal values, and let's save this, press F5, then you would see the ceiling value over here printed as 6. So you can see right here, which is getting us the value of 6. If you see here, the value is 6. So you can say the floor, if you want the 5 value to be printed, it should be math.floor. If you save this and press F5, 5 will be printed, which is the mathematical operation over here, which is saying here math floor, and it will return the floor of x, the largest integer less than or equal to x, which in this case is 5. So this is the way to import your module and call the method of that module using this period. And if you want to just rename this math as yum, you can do that. Now if you just say math.floor, it is not going to work because math has not been defined. You have just renamed this math as yum, so it should be yum now. Let's save this again and press F5, then you will see 5 again. You can also do something like from math module import me, if you want only some function, you can do something like this, from math module import me floor. So if you do this, now you do not need to just type here yum dot, because we have just included the floor method. Now you can simply call that floor method. Let's save this again, press F5, you will see 5 will be printed. But if you do something like yum dot or math dot floor again, it is not going to work because math is not defined and you have just imported the floor from that math module instead of this math. So you should directly call the floor over here. So this is the way to import the other module from this inbuilt Python prepacks library, which is from this Python documents, and you can make use of all of the functions that is given over there in your Python file. So in the next lecture we'll see more concept of Python. See you in the next one. Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about if-else statement. So decision making is really important concept if you want to just navigate to the certain portion of a code, and if you want to execute that based on the condition that is to be satisfied. So let's see how this if-else work. So the basic condition over here is, if certain condition is performed, or basically if the certain condition is true, then certain portion of the work or certain code will be executed, otherwise it won't work. So the flow will be going or navigated from one side to another based on that decision. So we have already learned how to make the logic, which is basically by the comparison operator. We have made the logic like 3 is greater than 5 if this is true, which is obviously false. This is false. That means we are making the condition over here. So if it is true, then certain portion will work. So something like if 3 is greater than 5, certain portion will be, this portion or this code will be executed, or this code will be executed that is inside here, or this code will be executed. So something like this is the condition. If this is true, this portion of code will work. If 9 is greater than 0, if this is the condition, then this part of code will work, or this part of code will work. So this is basically your condition or a decision making. So let's create one program to see if this if-else work in the Python or not. So first of all, let's see the syntax. So first of all, you see if, which is all in lowercase. So this is to start with the if condition, and you pass the condition inside this parenthesis. So I'll just say condition, and you give this colon here, and after that you pass the code that is to be executed inside here. Else, which is basically if this condition is false, else part will work. That means the code inside this else will work. So let's see the condition now, or basically let's create one program to see. So let's create a program to check if the number is positive or negative. So let's see that. So first of all, instead of just giving the number, let's see number and input that number from the user. So I'll say enter your number for the user, and this is the message for the user, and I'll just say enter this. And the next thing is to check. So I'll just say if number is, so if you see here in this input, you should get some idea that I have already told in the previous lecture, but I'll just put here unnoticed for you, because we'll see how this error will be executed, or basically how we'll get error from here in the minute. But let's make a condition right now. So okay, what I just did, so I'll just say number is greater than 0, which is basically the positive sense. We just get the condition that is positive. So I'll just say print number, or you can also format it. So I'll just say format is positive, and we know how to format using this format method, and I'll just pass here the number that is entered from the user. So let's close this print statement. Else, if it is the case which is the negative case, so I'll just say is negative, and let's format this string using the same number that is entered from the user. Let's see if this works or not. So you just get the basic idea. We are just making the condition here, taking the number from the user, and we are checking with this condition, which is the comparison operator, saying that if it is greater than 0, which is basically the positive number, we are formatting here that number is positive. Basically number is here value is positive, else value will be negative. A simple logic over here. Let's save this, but this is not going to work. So let's see how this is not going to work. So first of all, enter your number 76. If I say 76, press enter, it is saying this comparison operator is not supported between instances of string and integer. So what does that mean? Because you are seeing here that this part is getting error. Why that is getting the error? Because we are just comparing here the number, which is a string, with this 0. So I have already told you before that if you go over here and if you just input anything from the user, let me say the name or basically the age, okay, and if I say input, and if I input something like 67, and if you see the type of this is, it is not going to be the integer, it is going to be the string. So what we just did here was we just compared the string, that is the number entered from the user, with the 0, which is the integer. So we cannot compare string with the integer, so we have to convert this string which is entered, but it will be entered as a number, but that will be converted to the string by this input method. So let's convert this first into the integer, which is by this int method. Let's convert it first and let's see if this works or not. So let's save this first, press F5. Now let's enter the number. Let's say negative of 2. Let's hit enter, and negative 2 is negative. Obviously it is negative. So let's do one more time. Let's save this, press F5. Let's see 6, which is positive. So 6 is positive. Let's save this again, press F5, and if I hit 0 again, it is saying 0 is negative. So 0 is not negative, okay. 0 is basically 0, it is the neutral number, but it is giving us 0 is negative. We have to have another condition now. So what we are doing here is we are just checking for the 0 if it is greater or 0, or if it is not, but we are not checking if it is equal to 0 or not. That means we have to put another condition over here, which can be done with this elif. It is different from other programming language, so normally we put here else if, but in the case of Python it should be elif, otherwise it is not going to be run. So let's pass elif, and now I'll say number that is entered from the user is equal 0. If it is the case, what you are going to do, it will print simply number is 0. No need to format. Let's save this, press F5. Let's see if this works. 8 is positive. Let's see, let's press F5, press 0 again, and number is 0 now. So we are just adding another condition to make the decisions. So if else statement is a conditional statement that is going to execute the part of a code based on the decisions or based on the conditions that it has met or not. If this part is true, this code will be executed. You can do different thing over here. You can print hey, you can print everything, anything will be executed over here. Anything you pass here will be executed. If I save this, press F5, if I just give the positive number, you can see the code inside that field has been executed. 6 is positive, cool, and everything has been printed. That means if this condition is met, this part of code will be executed, and all the part which is after this won't be executed, because it is just giving us the flow control based on these conditions. So this is the important conditional statement. In the next lecture we will learn about the looping, which is the another flow control method. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about the looping concept. So first of all, what is loops? So loops is going to be iterate over the given sequence. So we provide the data set, and looping is basically it is going to loop until and unless the condition is met. If the condition is not met, if it is at the end of the data set, then looping will be ended. So let's see the loop in the action. So first of all, let's make use of the range function. So let's save this and press F5, and let me show you. If I say range method, so this is the inbuilt Python method, so it should be range. And if I say 5, okay, so stop point would be 5, then it is going to give us a tuple from 0 to 5. So just remember that range is going to give us a tuple from the starting point to the end point. So if you just provide a single letter or a single argument, then it would be the stop point. If you provide the two argument, let me say it's range and 4 to 8, it is going to give us from starting 4 to end 8. So this is the range method. We'll make use of this range method now. So first of all, let me show you something like, okay, so first of all, if you want to print your name, we'll just start from the basics. So if you want to print your name, and this is the way to print. So let's save this and execute. So you can see the Sachin just printed over here. But if you want to print this multiple times, so let me show you that if you want to print this maybe 10 times, so all you need to do is simply copy paste, although it would be overhead, but all you need to do is copy and paste. But if I told you to 20 times or 30 times or 1,000 times, so this would be tedious tasks. You have to simply copy everything and paste it over again and again, although this is quite boring tasks, but you need to do this. If you save this, press, you will be getting your output, but it will take some times. So this can be done by the loops. So let's see. So loop will be executed from this for. This is the keyword basically. So for all in lowercase. So I'll say I. For I is basically any variable. In keyword is needed, and the range. So range is going to give us a tuple or a list, and let me say 10 over here, and give the colon. So colon is important, and after that it will get some indentation. If you just press enter from here, all you need to do is just press enter. It will just give a certain portion as indentation, and you will just print your name over here. If I just save this and press F5, it is going to give us 10 times such in here. So what we just did here was we just loop in this range. So what this range 10 is going to give us is, let me show you over here. So range 10 is going to give us a sometime like as a tuple, and it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, as the last one would be omitted over here. If you just type here 11, it would be till 10. That means 11 will be 11 times the loop will be executed, but for now we have 10. That means it will be executed 10 times from 0 to 9. So first of all, this I value will be 0, and the next time it will be 1, and it will just loop until we reach over here, and after this we don't have anything. That means the loop will be ended, and Sachin will be printed only the 10 times. If you want 100 times, that should be 100 over here. Let's comment this out by this hash. Let's save this, press F5. You will see the 100 times Sachin will be just printed over here. So instead of just printing your name 100 times, you will simply make use of this loop, and loop will do the tasks repeatedly for you. So this is the importance of the loops. Let's see something interesting program now. So let's say I want to check basically the numbers. So let's make the number, and we haven't studied the list yet. We'll study in the next lecture, but just remember, list is basically the number. So collection of a number, we have, instead of just making the variable, we have the numbers in the list. So we have the collection of a number in this number. So I want to just loop now for num, I'll say number. In num, I'll just check if that number is modulus of 2 is equal 0. That means if it is even, then I want to print that number by formatting is even. Let's format this with our number. Let's close this. Let's save this first. Press F5. It is going to give us 2 is even, 4 is even, 6 and 8 is even. And if you want other, then you can simply say else, and you'll just print whatever is over here. So let's go over here and print this is odd. Let's save this. Press F5. You are going to see 1 is odd, 2 is even, 3 is odd, and everything over here. So what we did here was we make use of the conditionals with our for loop. So every time this for loop is executed, it is going to get us a single number from this num. So num is a list. In the first loop, this number will be 1. In the second loop, this number will be 2. In the third, it will be 3. And in the fourth, it will be 4. Only one number at a time. And we are going inside this loop with only that one number, with this 1 at first. So this at the first loop, this number will be 1, and we are checking if 1 of modulus of 2. So this expression will return that is 1, because it is not even, it is not divisible. So it will be false over here. That means this won't be executed. It will go to the else part and it will just print that this is odd. In the second loop, this number will be 2, and we'll just check again. 2 modulus of 2 is 0. Obviously this will be executed. In the third loop, this will be 3, because in this number list the third element is 3, so it is going to get us 3, and this is again the false. It will go to the else part. So this is the way for loop work, and we have now a program that will simply get us a value to check for the number that is even or odd. You can also check for the that the alphabet that is vowel or not. So you can do the program for yourselves. So if you do something like num is modulus of 2 is equal 0, let's press F5, then it is going to give us the error saying this num is unsupported operands type, because this num is not what we just required. This num is basically, it is taking whole of this list. So we want to check only with the single number. That means for loop will just take every element from this data sequence, and we can just execute our logic to just check for that data, single data from the list. It can be from the tuple or any other data sequence. So this is the importance of the for loop. So for loop can iterate over a sequence of number we have seen over here, and we can just make use of the range method or any other method, and we can just perform an operation over here. So if you have to do something like check for the prime number or check for the range, printing some numbers, you can do something like by the range method. Let me show you. For x in range, so I have shown you that range method will just give a sequence of numbers. So I'll say I want the number from 3 to 5, because this 6 is not included. So range 3, 6 will print the tuple number of 3, 4, 5, because the 6 won't be included over here. Just remember that. And after we just do this, we want to print that x. Let's save this. Press F5. You are going to get 3, 4, 5. This is the way. So we have something that is, let me show you here real quick. So if I say print and do this, you are getting this int attribute over here and shape attribute over here. So if I say x and comma int attribute to be only this but not /n, then if I say save this and print, you are going to get 3, 4, 5. because this int is attribute that is going to give us, if I say something like, okay, I want this much space between each of this number while printing, let me save this, then you are getting these spaces in each of these number like we just passed in this int. So if you want in the middle of each number, let me say $. If I save this, you will see in the each number you will have the $sign. So we are just formatting with this new attribute over here with the int. So we have now completed about the for loop. So next one is while loop. So it is similar to the for loop. Let's see about the while loop. So all in lowercase, start with while, typing the while, and you will say some variable over here. Let's make first variable. Let me do the same tasks as we have done in the before, like printing the name. So I'll say count equals 0. So I'll just check with the condition if this count is less than 5, that means this will be executed 5 times. I want to print that name, which is 5 times. If you just do this and if you just print now, it will be executed infinite times, because this count 0 value in here is less than 5. It is always true, it is never false. That means this while loop will be executed infinite times, and you will have the console that will be hanged after some moment, because this is never going to be terminated, because this count value is never going to be greater than 5, which is always 0. So if you want to just terminate after 5th loop, you have to change the value of the count every time you execute the first or second loop. So if I say save this, press F5, it is going to give us 5 times Sachin, which is obviously the condition when this condition is true. Until and unless this count becomes greater than 5, it will terminate your loop. But if you just remove this, if I just press hash and if I save this, press F5, it is going to execute infinite times. It is not going to just terminate in any time. So you have to just close this now, you have to kill it, because this is never going to be terminated. The count 0, this condition is true every time. That means the code inside this while will be executed infinite times. This can be done something like with this statement, while true, print Sachin. So if you want your program to have the infinite loop, you can do something like this. It will be executed for the infinite loop. We can do this in some programs, making the loop that won't be terminated at any time. This is the infinite loop. Now let's learn about the break and continue statement. So break, as the name suggests, is used to exit from the loop, and continue is used to skip the current block. So let's see how this break and continue statement works with the function or with the program over here. So let me say count 0, and let me make while true, which is our infinite loop, and here I'm going to print my count, which is basically your count. Now I'm going to say count add every time this loop work, add count, and if count is greater or equal to 5, you have to break. So let's see first the break statement. So what we are doing here is, I've already shown you in the couple of minutes before that while true is going to execute in infinite loop. So this is going to do infinite, but this break statement is used to break your loop. Whenever this count is greater than equal to 5, break is going to just terminate this loop and it will just get out of this loop. Let's see if this works or not. So let's save this first, press F5. Then it is going to give us the 5 values, because if this condition is true, then it will be break. Let's see if I just remove this break, or if I save this, press F5. Okay, we haven't had anything over here. Let's say print hey. Let's save this, press, then it is going to execute infinite times again, because we don't have any condition that will just terminate this loop. That is going to be done by our break statement. If this is the condition, if this condition becomes true, then break statement will be executed. So this is the way to just terminate out of this infinite loop using the break. So let's see about the continue statement now. So continue is very easy and very important. So let's make the program with the for loop. So for x in range, so I have already shown you about the range. It will just create us a tuple from 0 to 9. So let's check if this x is even or not. We have done this program again before. So if it is the case, then I just want to continue. Else I want to print my x. So what do you think this program is all about? Is it going to print us a even number or an odd number? So let's save this and see. And obviously this is going to print us a odd number, because in the case of even, if we get the even number, we are just saying continue. Don't print that number, just continue, just skip that number. And if it is the false, then print x. That means it will just print odd. If for case, let me just quickly make here the range. So range over here would be from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and the 9. So this will be the printed value. So at first it will be 0. So we are just checking 0 modulus of 2 is 0, which is obviously this part is true. That means it will just enter in this if loop. And here it is saying continue. That means nothing to do with this 0. Second, it is saying 1. And this condition is false. That means it will go out here and it will print 1. For the next, it will say 2. Don't do anything for the 2. Just go in the another loop. So that is saying with this continue. Continue is basically going to skip that certain block or a current block, and break is going to exit from the loop if the condition is met, which we just saw in the previous example. So this is our flow control part 2, where we just learned our looping concept and break and continue statement, and we'll learn about the functions and more interesting part of Python in the upcoming lectures. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about the functions. So we are going to make our own function in this lecture, but just remember we have made use of the functions, inbuilt functions of the Python couple of times in the earlier lectures too. So if you just remember about the modules, that is random module. Let's go to the documentation again. Let's press F1 or just go to the help and just press this Python docs. Go to the modules part, random, R for random, and see the random. So all of these is your methods or the functions. So if you made use of this rand range, this is your functions. If you see rand int, this is also your functions. So we are making use of these inbuilt functions of this Python. You are making use of input method, which is the inbuilt function. You have made use of print. We have made use of so many times the print. It is also inbuilt function. We have made use of range method in the previous lecture, which is going to return us a range object. This is also the inbuilt function. So let's create our own function now. So first of all, before creating our own functions, let's think why this function is essential. So that would be because we don't want to repeat yourselves, which is your dry principles. So what dry principle says is don't repeat yourself. If you want to do the same tasks, why you are creating the same code again and again? Just make a code in a way that you can call that whenever you need the same code to be executed. So let me say something like, before creating any function, so let me say I want to add 3 and 4. So I'm just giving us logic over here why this function is important. So I'm saying I want to create a program that will just add 3 and 4 every time. So in the function, in very much we are just making a program. Okay, we are just making a program where we'll see that whenever we just want to launch or just make a product, we have to call, that is the addition of 3 and 4. So instead of just writing 3 plus 4 every time, so we have to just say something like print me 3 and 4 first time. And if you want to do again in the next module, you have to say something like 3 and 4 again. The same code has to be repeated again and again if you want to do same task, which is addition of 3 and 4 multiple times. So instead of doing this, what if we just create a method or a function which will do the same tasks, and instead of just writing this code again and again, we can just call that function to do the same tasks whenever we need it. So let's see. So first of all, I'll say add. This is going to just do sum. Okay, sum. Okay, I think sum add, or basically add 2 to 4 2 3 add num. Okay, so I'm getting the idea over here that it is the function, and give the colon, and over here I'm going to add 3 and 4. So now we have created a function which is going to do only one thing, that is adding a 3 and 4 every time we call this function. So calling is with the name only. We'll just pass the name, we pass the parenthesis, and just give this add num. If I save this, run F5 with F5, it is going to give us 7. So every time it is going to give us 7. So instead of just writing again this print, now we can simply do is add num. We can simply call this add num, and it will just execute the same code again. So it is showing us 7 and 7 again. So if you want to use this again the 4 times or 5 times, no problem, just call this. You don't need to write code again and again. So it should seem something like for you that is okay, this is only one line code. So what if we have 1000 lines of code over here? So instead of writing 10,000 line of code again and again, you can simply call that method which will be executing that 1000 line of code. So this will just implement our dry principle from these Python implementations of the functions. So now what you need to do is simply create a function which will just do something for us. So to do that, we'll say def. Def is the define keyword which is usually used in the case of Python. So we'll say the info is my function, and you just give this parenthesis denoting that this is the function. So over here what you need to do is just print I like. Okay, and you know this is the way to format, and I hate. Okay, I don't hate, but I normally type hate over here, and I'll just format using this format keyword. And let's see, we don't have anything to format with. Let's go down and call the info, and in this info I want to pass the string name as Python and Java. Okay, so you are seeing here that we have passed in this info. So info has been called, this function has been called, and we are just passing to string over here, Python and Java as a string. But if you see in this info, we don't have anything that is placeholder for this Python and Java. So this is where we just pass a parameter over here. So if I say a comma b, Python will be in this a, Java will be in this b. So now we can format with this a and b. So let's close this, save this, press F5. You'll see I like Python and I hate Java, which is not the case. I like Java too, but I'm just saying I hate Java over here. So what we just did here was we just passed the argument as a parameter in this function in here. What if I want to just remove this Java, and if I save this and press F5, it is going to give us an error saying missing one required positional argument b. So what we need to know over here is this a and b over here is a positional argument. So if you just pass anything in this field, you have to pass as a position. So if you don't pass, it is going to show us an error. So if I say Java first and if I say Python, you'll see the complete opposing meaning of what we just expect. So save this, press, then it is saying I like Java and I hate Python, which is obviously not the case. But this Java will be not in B now, it will be in A. So it is a positional argument. So the order matters over here. Whatever you pass first will be in this positional argument, which is the first positional argument. Second will be goes to the second. If you just pass any third over here, it will go to the C. If you just pass something as an argument over here, so the order matters over here. But what if I say something like Python, and if I remove this, it is still going to show us error. That is, it is required to have the one positional argument B. But instead of this passing from here, I want to pass as a default argument. I'll say Java over here. Now you have the excuse, and if I just print with the F5, it is going to give us that I like Python and I hate Java, because we have now default argument. We have passed this default argument. If we don't pass over here, it will work as a default. So this is the work of default argument. But if you pass Java over here and if you just leave this B, it is not going to work. So just remember that the argument will be default. So default argument should always be over here at the last. So it has given us error showing that non-default argument follows default argument. That means not default should be at first, and that should follow by the default argument. So default argument should be always at the last. So this should be default argument, and non-default argument should be at the beginning. So this is the way to execute our method. So next thing is to return. So let's see. Instead of print, what I want to do is I'll say return me this is string by formatting, and now because it is returning something, I'll just catch over here. So I'll say info has been cached, and let's print this info. If I save this, press F5, it is going to give us I like Python and I hate Java, because we are just returning something from the function. Because we have returned something, it should be catch over here where we just call our function, and we have just printed that message which is returned from the function. So this is the return keyword which is going to return us the value. So if I just say something like return me 4 and addition of 6, and I'll just say print info, save this, it is going to give us 10 because it is returning the addition, and it is just saving over here, that is 10, and we are just printing this value as a 10. So this is our functions. So we can just create these functions, give the def keyword, function name, and inside the parentheses, if you want to have any argument which is the default argument or non-default argument, just pass over here and make use of the code inside this function. And calling the function is the another part with these parameters you want to pass to that argument which is used while defining the functions. So next thing is to see the lambda functions, and they are also called the anonymous functions in the Python. So lambda functions can have any number of argument but only one expressions. So in Python we have seen now to create the user defined function with the def keyword and giving the name, but the anonymous function doesn't have any name. That is the beauty of the anonymous function. Let's see how this anonymous function can be created. So anonymous function have return type, so something like double. So I'm just saying double will be returned, and if you want to make use of the anonymous function, it should be with this keyword lambda functions. So it is also called sometimes the lambda functions because we make use of this lambda keyword. So after that lambda, make use of the argument that you want to pass and the value. So let me say x multiplied by 2, and I want to print the double of 5, let me say double of 5, it is going to give us obviously 10 value. So this is also a function. So what we just did here was, let me just define our normal functions. So I'm just doing something like x and printing me x multiplied by 2 and calling that function with 5 value in it. So if you do same, it will just give us 10 and 10. So this is done by the lambda functions or the anonymous functions, and this is our normal user defined function. So here we can see this lambda keyword contains an expression, which is this expression, and the argument. So this argument can be any number of argument. It can be 1 argument, 2 argument. You can simply pass y over here, z over here, but this expression, which is x multiplied by 2, it should be only single. So you can't simply pass here something like y multiplied by 8 again. This is not valid. It should be only one time. You can do something like the x multiplied by y multiplied by z. This is valid. So you can simply pass here in the double 5, 8 and 9. You can save this, press F5, you will get the value, but the expression should be only 1. This is only valid if you pass here something, the expression 2, 3 expression, it won't be valid. So this is the lambda functions. We have to explore more of this in the upcoming lecture. We'll see the packing and unpacking the arguments, keyword arguments in the upcoming lecture. But for now, we have seen how to work with the functions, how to create our own functions. We have been using the couple of functions in the earlier lectures like print function, range function and input function. But for now, we have seen how to create our own functions and just execute it by our own way. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. This lecture will be fun lecture because we are going to cover a whole lot of things in this lecture about the variable scope and packing and unpacking the arguments. So let's start defining some function. So I'll say info function, and the normal function, I'll just create the variable with v as, let me say 45, and let's print this v value. So v is, okay, what am I doing? So let's format it first. V is, and you can simply pass with the format method, and let's say v. So this is inside the info method. So when you just call info, it is going to give us the straightforward v value. V is 45. But again, if you see that v value would be, okay, v value, I'll just say v is 56. Okay, so v is 56 over here, and now I'm just calling this same right here. So if I save this, then you will see v is 45 and 56. So that means the value or the variable has the local scope inside this function only. So if you see, this v is not visible over here. So if I just remove this v, if I save this, press F5, it is going to give us a error, v is not defined, because this is because of this error. If I just comment this out, then it is not going to give us any error. It is showing that v is 45. Because of this statement where we have to get the value of v, this v was defined inside the function, but this v is not visible outside of this function. So if I want to print any value that is v, or if I want to say y 89, okay, if I want to say again y, it is also not visible, because this y is visible inside this function only. Outside this function, this is not visible because this has the local scope inside this function, and outside this function this is not visible. But what if I just say v is 45, and I'll just omit out this statement. Now if I save this and just remove this one too, again save this and press F5, then it will show us v is 45 again, because this v which is declared outside of this function has the global scope. That means this is visible inside this function, outside this function, everywhere. But if you create any variable, any data structure that is inside this function, it has the local scope. It won't be visible outside that function. Just remember that. This is the important thing that you need to take care, because a whole lot of error can arise because of this concept that beginner don't understand about this variable scope that is inside the function will be visible inside the function only. Outside that function it will be invisible because it has the local scope, not the global scope. Now let's see about the concept which is packing and unpacking the arguments. First of all, let's see the unpacking the argument. Let me save this, run my console. So first of all, if I say something like print me, okay, it should be print me the numbers. I'll say 3 4 5. If I print this, you can see that there's a space, there is unpacking. So print statement has something that is attribute. I have already shown you in the previous lectures that if we say something like print me 3 4 5, we have this scp and the end command here. So if I say sep, which is the separation between each of these numbers, would be instead of just this space, I want to add dollar in between each of these elements that is passed in the print method. You'll see dollar will be added inside each of this element. So this is the packing or basically unpacking. Let's see some example. I'll say number 4 5 6 and 7 are the numbers. Now let me just print this with unpacking. So unpacking of the argument can be done with the single asterisk, just remember that, and just pass here number. And if I just print this, you can see there is unpacking. If I just print the number, there is no unpacking. This is simply a list, but if you want to unpack, you should pass the asterisk and the variable. Okay, we have to print this first and we have to pass over here, and you could see that there is unpacking of the number, which is not in the case when we just print the list. So this is the unpacking where we just unpack the list. So now let's see the packing the argument. So packing the argument will be implemented by the function. So let's create the function that will add the multiple number. So till now what we have learned is to add the numbers as the form of a parameter. So if I say print a addition of b, this is completely valid. I'll just call 5 6 or 3 5. If I print f5, the f5, this is going to give us a number. If I say 8 9 8 5, this is also going to give us a number. What if I say I want to add 6 7 8 6 7 again 6, I want to add this number. So Control S and press F5. It is not going to give us any result because I have already shown you before that it takes 2 positional argument but 8 were given. Here this argument was 8 were given, but this 8 will be gone to the A, this 5 will go to the B, but we don't have any further parameter which can hold this bunch of numbers. So if you want to do, you can do something like C, you can do D, you can do E, F and G and something like that, but it is not a practical way. So let's pack this argument so as to define the new function. I'll say add, and now if you want to pass multiple argument, you simply put here a asterisk and let's call this args. You can call any number or any variable name, but I'll simply say args. So now what you need to do is simply call the total because we want to add these numbers. So for I in args, so args here is a tuple, so in the tuple we can just loop. So I'll just say total and add with the I, and at the last return that total for me. And now you can add multiple numbers. So I'll say, so all bunch of these numbers. So let's save this, press F5. It is not going to give us any result because we haven't print over here. So let's print this, save this first, press F5. It is going to give us a result straight away because we are just finished with packing our argument. So all of these numbers here will be converted as a tuple. So in this tuple we can loop. Every time it will take a number. So I will be 3 at first. It will add with the total, which is 0 plus 3, which will be 3. Now the total is 3. So in the next loop it will be 4 plus 3. It will just add continually all of these, and it will just return the total, which is just printed over here. So this is the concept of packing the argument and looping through it and doing the operation inside this loop. So this is the important way to pack the arguments, and we'll learn the bunch of a concept in the upcoming lectures about the Python. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to see the reading and writing files in the Python. So when you are working with the Python files, you don't need to import a library in order to read or write the file. So it is very easy to read and write the file object in the Python. So all you need to do is call some of the inbuilt function and just manipulate and just get that file object and close the file that you just opened. So all you need to do is simply first of all use the with statement to do that. So before that I want to make a quick program over here which will just get input from the user and show you how to write to that file you just opened and read from that file. So first of all I'll say the input variable is going to input us, that is enter what you love about Python. So this will be input. I want to strip if there is any empty space or blank space. So after that we need to just write it to the file. So we have to make use of this with statement. So you can work with this file object using this with statement, and it is basically designed to provide much cleaner syntax and exception handling technique when you are working with the code. And this is the best practice to work with this with statement, because the bonus of using this method is that any file open will be closed automatically after you are done. So this is really important feature of a with. So we'll start using this with if we work in the file handling or a file input output. So as a with and open, we have to first open that file in order to read or write. So you can see the intelligence is giving us a suggestion about the file and the mode you want to open, and other are optional over here. So first of all I want to give the name to the file. So I'll say fun about Python, and I'll just say txt, which is fun.txt, and I want to open it in the mode. So this mode should be either read or write. So I want to open to the write mode. So I'll say write and as f. So we are aliasing this file as f from now, and I want to write to this file with the input that we just got from the user. So this is as simple as here. So if you are opening any file in the write mode, and if that file doesn't exist, it is going to create a new file and it is going to write your input to that file. So what we are doing here is we are opening the file, we are aliasing that file with the name as f again, and we are calling that write method with this input that is entered from the user. So let's save this first, press F5, and it is saying what you love about the Python. So I'll say it's easy to learn. Okay, it is easy to learn. So when I just hit enter, I think it should create us a text file, and you can see here it is saying fun. Let me open this, and it is giving us it is easy to learn. Okay, so we have right to that file. Let's go back to our ideally, and now we want to give another value. So now if I save this again, if I press F5 again, it is saying what you love about the Python. It is powerful. So when I just hit enter, let's go back again to the fun. Now we had given that value it is easy to learn has been replaced with it is powerful. So we don't need that. We have to do something like appending technique. So instead of write, if I just pass here append, it is going to append the basically what value you have passed in the previous, and it is going to just concatenate it. So let me go again back to here. Let me save this first. Let me just close this file, and now let me save this, press F5 again, and I'm going to say it is dynamically typed language. Press enter, and let me go again to the fun. Let me just open this fun. You'll see it is powerful was given in the previous execution, and it is appended with now it is dynamically typed language. You can simply pass that is over here. So every time this is called, you can simply go here and put some separations or something like end with double slash or single slash n over here, which is obviously default, but you can do this in order to give some spaces over there. So this is the way to just create the file. So let's remove this now, and let's see how to read from the file. We have already created the file. Now let's see how to read that file. With open, we have to open the file. So it should be the same name which we have just created. It should be fun.txt, and now the mode will be read mode, and I want to alias it as F, and now I have to read with this read command. So it is pretty much easy, but you have to print it. So I'll just say print f.read command, and let me say save this first, press F5. It is going to give us the result, which is the text inside that file, which is it is powerful, it is dynamically typed language, which was the file text or content. So this is the file handling technique. First of all, you have to open that file. If you don't use this with, you have to close that file, but it is handled dynamically by this with command. So we are opening that file in the read, write or append mode. We're aliasing that, and we're just calling this read and write method to write to that file or read from the file. So this is the simple file handling technique in the Python. We'll learn more about this in the upcoming lecture. We'll see some of this technique and how this can be used for the hacking purpose in the upcoming lecture. See you in the next one. Hello and welcome to this lecture. This will be the first lecture on the data structures. So in this lecture we are going to cover about the list, the most used data structure in the Python. So first of all, what is list? So first of all, let's come with the variable. So when I just say variable, you have to store only one element to the variable. So you cannot store something like var saying 3 store me 4 5 6 6. This should not be valid in the variable. You can store only one data item to the variable, but if you want to store multiple items to the same variable, it is to be done with the data structures. It can be the dictionary, it can be the list, it can be the tuple. So let's see about the list in this lecture. So let me just say my list, and I'll say this empty square brackets. So when I just save this, and if you want to print, it will just print you the my list, and it is your empty list. So let me just press F5 to show you over here. And if I say my list and assign as empty square bracket over there, then you'll see that you will just have the my list as empty. So you are just creating here the empty list. So let's assign some of the integers over here. So I'll just say my list, and let's see 1 2 3. So now you can see we have assigned multiple data item to the same variable name, which is basically the data structures, which is the list. So we have created the list of numbers from 1 to 3. You can also make a list with a mixed data types. So we have learned from the previous couple of lectures, we have the couple of types, the basic fundamental data types in a Python. That is, first is integer, obviously the one integer, and next one is decimal, and the next one is string, and next one is your boolean. So let's close this first, and after this let's add the boolean, and it is also valid. If you just print your list, you'll see this is going to create us a simple list containing all of the mixed data types over here, having an integer, float, string, and the boolean. So we have created the list over here, the first list, which is going to get all of the data items stored in it. So you can also have the nested list. So let me just take an example, my list, and let me say it is going to have hey first, and after that the another list, after that the more another list, okay, after that the another list again. So you can see we have created a list which contains the nested list, which have more than one list. So it have one list over here, then another list over here. So this is the nested list. So let's see how we can access the element from the list. You can see we have created our list over here, which is the mixed list, and over here we have created our my list. So let me just copy this and paste it here, and now we have the my list containing a mixed data type. So let's access some of these items from this list. So in order to access the element, you have to go through the index. So what is index here? So index can be assigned with this square bracket again. So in the list, the first item is at index 0. So this is the position which we call 0. Next one will be 1, 2, and 3, incremented each time by 1. So if you just call this as 1, this should be 2, and this should be 3. And always remember, the list index start from 0, not the 1. This is not 1, it starts from O. So if I say my list O, then it is going to give us 1. And if I say my list, and this time 1, okay, 1, then it is going to give us the second element of the list, but the index having 1. So this is the way to just access the list. If you want to have this to be printed, you can do in the two ways. I'll say my list. First way is to count from 0, 1, 2, 3. It should be as 3. And another way is to have the negative indexing. So this is important. Negative indexing is from the -1. If you want to print this true, it should be at -1, and you have to just decrement again. It should be -1, it should be -2, it should be -3, and -4. If I want this 1, it should be -4, which is called the negative indexing over here. So we have got 1, which is at the position of -4, which is our negative indexing. So next thing is to slice the list. Now slice is to get part of the list. We want to get the multiple element of a list is a slice. So same as the pizza slice, we want to get some part of the list. So in order to get some part of list, let me create big list for now. So instead of this list, let me just clear and open the new console, and now let me just create now big list over here. So this will contain the basically, okay, I'll just say 1 2 3. So the random elements over here. So let's close this list. We have created the list. So now what if we want to do is we want to have the element from this, maybe from 3 to maybe 66. We want every element from this 3 to 66. So let's see how we can just get that. And this technique is called slicing technique. So first of all, we have to go through the index again. So 1 is at 0, 2 is at 1, and 3 is at position 2, but position 3, but index is 2. So we'll just go from 2 because we want to include 3, and we have to give the colon, and we want to reach at 66. So this is as 2, 3, 4, and 66 is 5. So if you just pass 5 here, this is the explicit position, so this is not included. If you want to include this 5th position, you have to pass 6, because this position is going to be ignored. So 6th position here, or the 6th index, is at 7, and this is not included. Only up to here is to be included. So if I hit enter, it will show us 3, 4, 5, 66. 7 is not included, though it has the index of 6, but this is the ignorable position, or this is not an included position. If you just pass my list and from 2 to 5 again, which is the position of 66 index, it will just give us 3, 4, 5, but not 66. This is the ignorable position. And now you can also do something from the beginning to maybe from here beginning to 5. If you want from beginning to 5, we can do something like leave the first position. If you leave first position, it will just defaultly start from the first index and just count from there. 0th, 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to 5. That means we have to include this 5th, and let's close this. So it is giving us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the next thing is the step position. So let's see the step position. So I'll just say my list, and the first one is default. Let's say second one is also default. If you pass third one, so this third one is basically this step. So step is the loop, or basically what is to be included. If I pass 2 over here, it is going to leave one step in each of the elements. So you can see, if you just pass 2 over here, this one was printed, but instead of printing 2, it has directly jumped to 3. It has left out 4, it has left out 66. So one step has been not included in the output list. If I say something like my list, again go from beginning. If you don't pass anything, it will go from beginning, and again if you don't pass anything over here, it will just go till the end. And if I say 3 over here, and if I print, now again it is going to remove the 2 element. So step has been 3 here. That means it is going to remove the 2 element from each of these part. So you can see 1472 has been printed with this slicing technique. Now let's see some of the important methods of the list. So first of all, I'll make the odd element over here, 1, 3, 5, 7. So now if we want to append or add another element, we can make use of this append method of the list and I'll say the next would be 9. And now if I print odd, you would see now 1 3 5 7 9 9 has been appended to this odd list. So you can do similarly. Let me say if you want to add multiple elements, so in the case of append you can add only one element, but if you want to add multiple element you can simply do extend 11 13 15. And now okay, what we have just done here was we have to extend with the list. So we have just made a small mistake over here because this should be iterable. It has shown right over here and we haven't passed in the list. So I'll say 11 13 and again 15, close the list, close the method, and if you just print odd, now it has been extended. So 1 3 5 7 9 was the initial odd. Now 11 13 15 was added from this extend method of this Python list. So you can also do something like insert. Let's go back again, print this, and if I just say odd is 1 and 9, and now if you want to insert the element you can simply do insert, and now if I say 1 and 3, okay, what we just did over here was we wanted to add this third element in the first position. So this insert method will take the position where you want to insert, or basically the index. So index is basically the 1, that means we want to insert in the middle of the 1 and 9 because 1 is at 0th, 9 is at 1 position, but now in this position we want to add 3. So when I just insert this, print odd, you'll see 3 has been inserted now in middle of 1 and 9. So this is the way to just insert the element using this insert method. Next is to see our remove method, delete method. So let's see about that. So first of all, let's see our list. So let's create the new list and I'll say 1 2, this is our list. So next thing is to just delete the list. So I'll say I want to delete some part of the list, some element of the list. You can do that by using this my list and the slicing technique that we have studied. I want to just delete from 2 to 3. So if I do that, and if you say my list again, you'll see that it has now 1 3 4 5 5, 2 and 3 has been deleted. So next thing you can also do is simply call delete, and if you say delete my list, whole list will be deleted, and you'll see this my list is not defined because we have just deleted our my list completely from here. So next thing is you can also make use of the remove method in order to delete some element of the list. So let me create my list again, and here I'll say A, B, C and D are the element of the list. And if you want to remove, you have to call my list again and just add the remove method. So when I just remove, let me say I want to remove C from here, and if I just print again my list, you'll see C has been removed from your list. You can also do same tasks using the pop method. So you can say that my list and dot pop method is of the list, and you have to pass the index in this pop method. So when I just say 1 is the position for this B, so B has been popped out, that means element has been popped out from this list. So if you just do something like my list dot pop, it is going to give us as a default the last element of the my list, which is in this case the pop. That means it is going to get the last index, which is -1 index, if default value is passed or nothing value is passed in the pop method. It is going to get us the last element of the list. So these are the couple of functions which are important functions of the Python list. So we have couple of lectures to learn about the data structures. In the upcoming lecture, we have seen bunch of the method like insert, like pop method, and remove, insert, append, every method which is important in the list. You can also take a look on this len method, which is going to give us the length of the list. And this is the one, because we have just popped out every element, only my list has the one element, which is a, so it is going to give us the length of the list as a 1. So these are the couple of functions we have learned in this lecture. In the next couple of lectures, we'll also see about the more advanced data structure. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to learn about the string, which is very important part of the Python programming. So first of all, what is a string? So a string is a sequence of characters, and you know the characters are simply a symbol. That is, we have the 26 characters in the English language. So these are the characters, which is ABCD. All of these are the characters, and the combination of that characters is a string. So when I say ABCD, this is the string, but normally we put a string inside this quotation. So if I say ABC inside this double quote, this is your string, which is your first string. So a string is only the sequence of characters which will give you some meaning. So if you say your name, then that is also your string, because it is also the combination of characters. So we normally call the combination or sequence of characters as a string. So let's see how to create the string and store them into the variables. So if I say my string, because we don't need to just specify the types in this Python programming, it is done dynamically by the Python interpreter. So if I say hello, and if I just create this string, and if I just want to print this, which is your my string, it is going to give us the same string over here. So a string can be created with the double quote, and it can be also created with the single quote. And if you see here, let me create a new string with the same name, but in this case I'll use triple but a single quote over here. And if I just close this with the same quote, if you do in this way, then this is going to work. But if you just remove one quote, and if you see over here, we have 3 opening quotes and only the 2 closing quotes, it is not going to work. So it is not going to work in this case. You have to put 3 closing quote, and then you have now created your string, which is hello string. You can also give the triple quotes if you have to make a multi-line statements or multi-line string. So if I say my string, and if I want to create the multi-line string, then I can say that hello, and I can say welcome to, let's make this multi-line by going down, and if I say welcome to the programming world, and if I just close with these triple quotes, then if I just hit enter, you'll see that we have just extended our string. So it should be capital S, and now you can see we have the /n, which means we are in the new line, and this is our string. The whole lot of string was created by these triple quotes, which is used to extend the multiple lines. In this case, you can just go down and do multiple lines. So this is also one type of commenting, which we just did in the previous lectures, how to comment with the multiple line, because the single line commenting is with this hash. If you want the multi-line comment, it should be done with these triple quotes. So next is we'll see how to assess the characters in the string. So let's make a string, and let's see how we can just assess each of these characters from the string. So let me say str is my string. So instead of str, I'll just make a new let me say name, and if I say Python is the name, and if I hit enter, and now if you want to just see or fetch the item from this string, you can do from the index. So you can see here in the Python, p is at position 0, y is at index 1, t is at 2, and similarly 1 increment at a time. So if I want the character that is y, then I have to give name first and give the square bracket, and inside that square bracket you have to put the index. So p is at index 0, that means if you want y, you should put 1 over here, and if I hit enter, you are going to get y. So you have to just assess through this indexing technique, and just remember that in the string and in the list, the index starts always from 0, it is not from 1. Just remember that. If you want to get this n, you can do simply something from 0, count from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I just say name, okay, if I say here name and 5, you are going to get the n. But you can also do in the another wise, that is the negative indexing, which is -1. So -1 is at n, so n is at index -1 and the 5. If I hit enter, you are going to get n. If you want this negative indexing from maybe t, if you want t with the negative indexing, you have to count from -1 and decrement in the each of these characters. So n is at -1, o is at -2, -3, -4. So if you just pass -4, you are going to get t. So this is the way to just get or fetch the characters from the string. You can also slice the string. So if I say something like name, and if you want to just fetch the element from y to t, then you have to count the index first, because p is at 0th index, y is at 1, 2, 3. So if I say 1, 2, 4, because this position which is at there is exclusion position. So if I hit enter, you are going to get yth. But if I say name and 1, 2, 3, so if I say 1, 2, 3, you are not going to get h, because although t or h is at position 3, but this is exclusion position. That means it will count from 1 and go till 3, or basically till 2. So it will print from 1 to 2, but not, it will just include only 2 but not 3. It will just exclude this position. So this position is exclusion position. So you have to include the index that is bigger than that the character you want to include. So if you want to include from y to t, that means you have to include the index of 0th or o here. If you want to index to be included of o, then include the index of the n over here. So if you want to do something like from s to n, then you have to do something like, first of all, count. So p is at 0th, 1, 2, 3. So inclusion position will be 3 and exclusion will be till the last. So last, if it is till the last, you don't need to give any index. If I hit enter, you will get HON. So just remember that we can just slice this string, and we'll learn about this in the more detail in the list lectures, which is very important to learn about, because in the list also we can just get this idea of slicing and taking part of the list. So string can also offer the same idea of slicing the string, that is getting some part of the string. So the next thing what you can do here in the string is to delete the string. So first of all, before deleting, let me just close this one and open the new terminal. And here, first of all, let's see how we can just assign something to the string or not. So if I say my string, and now if I say that it is a string, and if I want to assign something to the string, so if I do something like in the position 5th position, I want to assign value a. So if you count the position, that is 5th, 0th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that means it should include over here before g, but it is not valid in the case of string. So string object does not support item assignment. So just remember that strings are immutable. That means the element of a string cannot be assigned. So you cannot do this in the case of a string, but you can do this in the case of the list or any other data structures. But in the case of a string, this is not valid. So next thing is we can also delete the string. So let's see how we can delete the string or not. So if I say delete with this del command and my string, okay, it should be my string, and if I want to delete only first character, which is basically the T, because the index start from 0th, then this is also not valid. If I hit enter, string object does not support item deletion. So item deletion or a character deletion of the string is not valid, but it will be valid in the case of any other data structure like list or a dictionary. But in the case of the string, this is not valid. All you need to do is completely delete all the string. So that should be done like this. My string, if I hit enter, now if you just check the my string, it is not there. It is not defined because it has been deleted completely. So next thing in the list is the concatenation technique in the list. So let's see how we can just concatenate the string. So if I make two string, hello first string, let me make string 2, that is Python. And if you want to concatenate this, you have to do something like, first of all, take this string, what is str1, and add this with str2. If you do this, you are going to concatenate this string. You can also do something like a multiplication of string. So if you want to get the multiple hello, you can do something like str1 multiplied by 3 times. So this arithmetic operation is valid in the case of a string. You can multiply your element, you can also do addition, which is basically a concatenation between the string, and you can do this type of operation in the string. So let's see some of the operations or some of the inbuilt method of a string now. Let me close one more time, and here let's see some of the inbuilt function of the string. So first of all, I'll just make a simple string, and in this string I'll say happy birthday. So let's change this string or manipulate this string by inbuilt function of the Python. So first of all, we'll see the capitalize function. So let's see how this works. So I'll say capitalize. Just make sure you just enter this function. So when I just hit enter, you can see that with this function only the first letter will be capitalized and all the letter will be in the lowercase. So this is the capitalize function. And if I check again, that is the my string, it will be unchanged. You can see this is the same string which is just created, but we change with the capitalize, but it is not happening anything over here. This changes has not been reflected to the original string because strings are immutable, they cannot be changed. Basically this function, if you want to make change, you have to assign it like this. If I say my string, and now I have to call inbuilt method in this string with capitalize. If you do this, now you can see that your string will be changed to this capitalize. Just remember that. So next function we can see is the lower function. If I say lower, this is going to convert all of these characters into the lowercase. Next one, it would be obviously the upper one. If we say the upper, this is going to change whole lot of characters into the uppercase, and this is the way to just see if we can just convert to the uppercase and lowercase. Let's see some other functions. So let's say that abc is a string, and let's call is lower method over here. And if you do this, then obviously this character are in the lowercase, that means it will just return us a true. You can also do similar to this is this upper, and it is also going to give us a true because that is in the uppercase. So next thing is to strip. So if you want to strip the spaces, so if I do space some spaces and abc and some spaces, and if you want to strip these blank spaces, you can simply call this strip method, and you will get that that is the characters of the string without the blank spaces. So this is the handy method, which is the split strip method, not split. So this is important method. You can also see the find method. You can also check for the count method. So if I say something like, okay, A B C D E F, and if I just find some characters, maybe C, and if I hit enter, it is going to give us a 2, the position. You can also see the index method. So these are the some of the methods. You can also see the len method, which is going to take any object. So if I do this, then you are going to get the length of the string object over here, which is passed with the 3 characters. So these are the some methods which are quite handy in the case of the string. We have covered a lot of things in the string part. So in the upcoming lecture, we'll learn about more complex data structures, and we'll just see some of the examples, real world examples. So see you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. This lecture will be all about the dictionaries. So we have learned about the list now, and now it's time to see more complex data structures, which is a dictionary. So it is important lecture of the Python programming. So first of all, if you see the dictionary, it is quite similar to that the dictionary, English dictionary, which we used to look up for the words and we get the meaning. So there is a key, which is basically your words, and there is a meaning, which is your values. So this is the combination of key and values, and we make use of this key and value to create the dictionary, to assess the dictionary. So just remember that. So this is the main reason we call this as a dictionary. So dictionary is an unordered collection of items. So what does that means is, in the case of a list, it is ordered. So if I make any dictionary, and if you want to just assess the element, it won't be ordered, it will be unordered, and we'll see about that in the next minute. But for now, just remember it is quite similar to the list, but it is unordered and it has the key and value pair. So next thing is, we just combine the element in the form of a key and value. We have already said this, and now let's see how to create the dictionary and how to do some manipulations in the dictionary. So first of all, we have to give name to the dictionary. So I'll say my dict is my dictionary. And to create the dictionary, if you remember, to create the list it was square bracket. For now it is dictionary, so it should be curly braces. So if you hit enter, and if you just say the my dict, then it is the empty dictionary. If you check the type of this my dict, if you want to do this, then you could see the class is the dictionary type. So the next thing is to just input some of the characters to this dictionary. So let's make our dictionary. So first of all, I've said there is a key, and you give the colon, and there is a value. So this is the way to create the dictionary. So next one is also the key value. So you can enter any number of key value over here. So key would be something, let me say 1, and the first, let me say, is orange. So the first value is orange, and the second, let me say it is apple. Now if you just print this my dict, then it is your dictionary. A complete dictionary is been just created over here. So you can also do something like, okay, let me make a dictionary with a multiple mixed keys. So if you see, we have now key as a string, and let me say John, which is also the string. Key and value both as a string, but for now I have to just create the mixed key value pair. That means I'll just insert some of the list over here. So this is a completely valid. Until and unless you open with the curly braces and close it, it is going to be your dictionary. So just remember that we can make any data type over here as a key and the value. It can be list, it can be string, it can be integer, it can be boolean, anything. So this is also completely valid. If I print this my dict, then you can see that is a dictionary. So you can do this completely. So next way is to create the my dictionary with the method, which is inbuilt method dict method. So if I do this, and in the dict method you have to pass in the forms of a mapping is in the form of your tuple. So let's see how can we make this. So I'll say one will be apple, and this apple is your string, so that means you have to put in the quote. And let's close this one, and next element will be also in the tuple. So this is the tuple, and if I just close this one, close first your list and close your dict method, then we have now just created my dictionary. So you can see this is the same dictionary that we just created with this curly braces. Now it is created with this dict method. So this is the way to create your dictionary. So let's see how we can assess now this dictionary. So first of all, so let me just make a simple dictionary, and I'll just make with these curly braces, it is easier to do. So I'll say name is my first key, and I'll say John is the name, and next would be age is integer, so I'll say 23 is the age. Now let's see how we can just get the element which is John from this dictionary. If you want to do that, then first of all you just take that name of the dictionary and put your this square bracket. Normally we do in the case of a list, and in the case of string too. If you want to access any element from the list and from the string, we make use of this square bracket, and that is same for the case of a dictionary. So if you want the element from the dictionary, it is not through the indexing technique. So if you just remember, in the case of a list, we used to access the element from the index. We used to normally pass 0 here to get the first element, 1 to get the second element, but in the case of dictionary we have to give the keys. So if you want the values, just give the key inside over here. If you want the age, just give the keys over here. So if I hit enter, you will get 23. If you want the name, that is John, then you have to pass the key as a name, and you are going to get the John. So this is the way to get, or the next way you can also do is something that is get method of the dictionary. So you can now give the age over here and close your get method. You are going to get 23 over here. So get is also the one way to assess the element of the dictionary. So you can do this way, or you can do just by passing these key value pair, or basically keys, to just get the values out from the dictionary. So let's see now how can we change or add element to this dictionary. So first of all, let's see how we can update the values. So what if I want to change this age from 23 to 27? First of all, you have to access that element, and that is done by this way. And now you have to access the age, and in this age I want to assign something like 27 values. Then if you just print now my dict, then you are going to see that age has been changed from 23 to 27. So this is the way to just access the element, change the element of your dictionary. If you want the addition of the item which is completely new, then you can do something like add address to this dictionary and change it to maybe your country name. Now if you just see this dictionary, you can see the address has been added as Nepal over here in this dictionary. So this is the way to change or to add element to your dictionary. So let's see now how we can just remove this dictionary, or basically how we can just change the element of this dictionary. So first of all, let me just copy this, and let me just clear all of this. So now let me create the same dictionary over here, and okay, if I just hit enter, your dictionary is created. So if I see the dictionary, then this is your dictionary. So let's see some of the operations we can do on this dictionary. So first of all, let's see how we can just pop out the element from this dictionary. So first of all, you have to just get that dictionary, and after that you will see the method that is saying pop. Pop method is same as that of list. Now if you want to pop of the element, you have to pass the keys to it. So what you want to have to pop is basically I want to pop the age, and if you do this, and it is going to give us 27. Now if you just see the dictionary, then 27, or basically this whole key value pair was been removed from this pop method. Now we have changed our dictionary. So you can do this, or you can simply do something like pop item methods, and that does the same as before. So this is the way to just delete or access the item. You can also search on the Google for the inbuilt method of the dictionary. So these are the common method to see that is a pop, how to access them, how to delete them, and basically how to just access the element of the dictionary. We'll see much more advanced programming in the upcoming lectures about the list comprehensions, object oriented programming, and that will be the wrap for this lecture. See you in the next one. Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about the tuple. So if you just remember, we have done much of the data structures now. So if you just remember, we have done the first fundamental data type, that is string, which is the collection of numbers or characters basically. So this was the sequence of characters which we call the string, and the next one was the list, which was created by this square bracket, and the next one was the dictionary, which was created with this curly braces. Now if you remember, the next thing was left with only the parenthesis. So set or a tuple is only those things that is created with this brackets or parentheses. So if you see what is the type of that bracket, or if you just assign something, maybe this empty parenthesis, and if you check the type of this A, it is going to show us the type is tuple, because we have created a empty tuple over here. So this tuple is similar to that of list, but the difference between the list and the tuple is that it is very important. Just remember that we cannot change the element of the tuple once it is assigned, but in the list element can be changed. So that is the main difference between the list and the tuple. So if you just assign some element to the tuple, it cannot be changed, but in the case of list, we have already seen we can just manipulate the list whatever or whichever way we want. So first of all, let's see how we can just create the tuple, how to manipulate the tuple first. And so let me create my tuple, and in this tuple I want to assign. So I have already shown you that the tuple is created with this parenthesis, so you can just assign the element like this. So now you have created your own tuple. So this is the way to create the tuple. So tuple can be created with the mixed data type too. So if you say that I want to assign maybe the integer, maybe the string, or maybe the decimal float, which we call, or maybe the boolean, this is all valid. So if you check the tuple, if it is created or not, so you can see our tuple has been created with the mixed data types. You can also have the nested tuple. So you can see I will create now nested tuple. So first of all, let me say cat is the first element, and now I want to just have the multiple data structures over here. First one is list, and the next one is simply the another tuple. So you can do this. So if you check your tuple again, then you could see that we have created successfully the new tuple with the nested tuple in it, which is the one single tuple inside our main tuple. So let's see now how we can just access the element from the tuple. So if you just remember, in the case of the list and the string, we used to do it with the index. So same is in the case of the tuple. So if you want maybe the element cat, then you will simply pass here 0th, and you will see that cat has been popped out as the first element of that tuple. And if you want to get maybe this 6th element of the list, then first of all you have to get this whole list, which is obviously at the index 1, and the next index would be again 1, because this inside this list, this is the 0th position, this is first position. So that means if I just hit enter, you are getting the 6, which is basically this middle element of that first index list. If you want this third element, what you can do is simply you can say my tuple, and you can simply pass first, that is a 2, and now the second index can be either the -1, because if you just remember, the last element can be always indexed with the -1, or it can be something like you can count from here, and this is at 0th, this is at 1, and this is at 2. So if you just pass here again the 2, it is also valid. So tuple also have the negative indexing. So you can see here that if you just do something like my tuple, and if you want the whole tuple of this whole tuple, then you can simply get the -1, which is the negative indexing, and you will see whole tuple will pop out over here as the output. That means it will support the negative indexing too. So let me just clear this real quick, and let me show you some more about the tuple. So let's create that same tuple again. And now what we need to learn is about the slicing, and we have learned about the slicing in previous couple of lectures in the case of a list and in the case of a string too. But for now, let's see how we can just assess or slice the part of the tuple. If I want maybe from this cat, okay, let's make another tuple which will be more meaningful. So you know how to create the tuple. I'll say A, B, C. Okay, the next one would be D, E, and F. Last one would be J. So let's make this tuple. So let's see how slicing works in the tuple. It is similar to that of list, as I have already shown you in the previous lectures. So first of all, let me say I want to slice this part from B to maybe from B to E. So let's count for the index first. So A is at 0, so we want from B, that means we have to just include from 1, and just remember this is the inclusion position. If you do something like 2, that means from C it will include, and if I just do 1, it will include from position this, which is I want from B to maybe D. Okay, from, let me just do something like from B to D. So that means this is the inclusion position. I want the D also. That means we have to put here the position of E, or the index of the E. So that means index of E is 8, 2, 3, 4. If I put 4 over here, that means I'm going to get, okay, going to get B, C, D. But if I do something like my tuple, and if I just want the BCD, if I want BCD, but I just made 1, 2, 3, if I just put the position of only D, then you are going to get BC only. So this is the exclusion position. So just remember that it is same for the list, and it is also similar for the case of a string, and similar for the case of this tuple. If you want everything from beginning to end, you can do simply do this, and you will get whole of tuple. If you don't pass anything over here, it is going to loop from beginning to the end with a step of 1. So this is the way to slice your tuple, which is the interesting part of the any data structures. So next thing what I want you to show is, let me make some program over here. So let's go in our script and let's make some program over here. So let's see if I just make dictionary. This is our dictionary, and I'll say name is Python, and work is for, let me say, programmer. So if this is our dictionary, and if I say for I in, or basically for key value in this, and if I just want to print this, maybe by formatting is or this way. If I want to format maybe with key and value, let's see how this work. and we are printing over here. So let's see how this works. Let's save this first and let's print this pressing F5. It is going to show us error too many values to unpack. So if you just remember, we have learned dictionary in the previous lectures, but I haven't told you one thing, that is this dictionary is not iterable, so you cannot loop. So this for loop is not going to work in the case of dictionary. But if you convert this dictionary into the tuple with this items method, let's see this items method, and let's save this and press F5, then this is going to work. So what is happening over here is, let me show you. So at first we are creating the dictionary, which is obviously you can see in here, which is this dictionary with the key and value pair. And now we want to loop, this is dictionary, and we are looping with this for loop with the key and value. That means this name will be key, this Python will be value for the first loop, in the second loop this key will be work, value will be program. That was our intention. But this is the dictionary, and dictionary cannot be iterables. So just remember that we cannot loop in the dictionary. But if you convert this dictionary into the tuple or into the list, then it is iterable. So normally in the case of real world programming, we normally convert this dictionary into the tuple so as to loop in the tuple. So if you want to loop in this dictionary, you will simply call this items method in the dictionary, which is going to just convert this dictionary into the tuple, and in the tuple you can just loop. And if you see the result over here, we can see that we have now the result. So if I show you over here, let's copy this dictionary, go back, paste it over here, and if I say dot items, then you will see the dictionary has been converted into the tuple now, which is having this tuple. So you can see clearly over here, it is although the dictionary object, but it has converted into this tuple. So this is first tuple, this is second tuple. So now we can just loop in this tuple from this for loop, and we're just formatting with key and value over here. So this is the way to convert the dictionary from the dictionary to the tuples so as to work with the for loop or to make it iterables. So this way the part of the tuples or data structures is ended over here. We'll learn about the object oriented programming in the next lecture. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. This lecture is about the object-oriented programming. So Python supports multiple programming paradigms. So we have already seen about the functional programming, that is defining the function to do tasks, that is following the drive principle, that is don't repeat yourself technique, and we have learned about packing and unpacking the arguments through the functional programming. So now in this lecture we are going to learn about the objects. So we'll simply perform the same functional programming but with the creation of the object, that is making the instances and creating the class in object and seeing the most basic advantage and basically the paradigm of the object oriented programming. So let's get started. So before that, let me tell you about the object. So what is basically object? Let me open my document over here. So you could see we have the object over here, bird. So this is object. So just think bird is an object, and we have the attribute and methods to this object. So first of all, this object has its attribute, it has its own properties. So you can see this bird can have the name, so this bird can have its age. So these are the properties or the attribute to this bird. So if you make another object, they can have their different name or their different age. So this is basically unique. So attributes will be unique to each of these objects. So this is bird, or basically if you make something like, let me say, penguin. So if you make the penguin object, it will have different name, it will have different age. And if you make something, let me say, parrot or sparrow, then it will have different name and different age. You can say same case for the sparrow. So each of these object will have unique name and the age, but their method will be common. They can sing, they can dance. So bird object having that, let me say, we'll make the class as a bird in this lecture, and we'll see how this object oriented programming works under the hood. So first of all, let me just open my script over here, and I have just saved this script. So first of all, in order to create the class, you have to call with this keyword saying class, so all in the lowercase. And now let me say bird is my class. So let's give the colon to represent that we are creating this bird class. So now we are inside this class. So first of all, in the class we'll have the attributes. So you can simply say something like species, so that will be bird. So this is your parameters, or what we call the attributes. So you can see these are the attribute to this bird. So species will be bird, and the next one is your method to the class. So let me just define one real quick function over here. So if you just remember, we have to define the method in the class, that is with this def keyword. So if you just remember, in the previous couple of lectures we have defined the function with this same def keyword. So that means this is also a function, but this is bound to particular class. So if any function is bound to any particular class, we normally call it as a method, but it is same as function. We will define it with a def keyword. Now let's do something like double underscore init and double underscore. So this is the first main method of any class. So just remember that this is the first method, which is init method, and we normally call it as a constructor in other programming language like Java. So if you just see over here, what we are doing is we're just making a constructor, and let me just type here real quick and show you what is going over here. So if you just remember, in the document over here, I've said you that this is the object. It will have its own attribute, name and the age. So we are just defining a constructor that is the first method to this class bird with this init method, and this method has this self. So this self is bound to particular object. So just remember, the first argument to any method of the class is going to be self. If you make any other method, let me say the new method, and that will be sing, then the any method, the first argument should be self. So just remember that. If you just remove the self, it is not going to work. So you have to put every time the self as a first parameter in the method of the classes. So if you see here, after the self we have the name and the age. So these are the attribute to the particular object. So let me say self this, and the next one would be song. Okay, we'll just pass as a song, which is going to be sing by the bird, and we'll just say return by formatting something, and I'll just say sings, and let's format with format keyword. We know how to format, that is by the format function. And now if you say something like name and the song that you just pass, this is not going to work. So let me show you why this is not going to work. So before that, I have to make the object. So first of all, just remember, in the object oriented programming, first part is creating a class that we just create here with the class keyword, giving the name of the class. And just remember that the naming convention over here, class name always starts with the uppercase, that is B over here is capital. If you make any other class like bike, then B will be capital over here. So this is a bird class, so the first letter of the class will be in upper cases, and after that the first method of any class is a init method, which is the constructor, and this method is going to be called when you instantiate the class's object. So if you make the instances of the class, then this method is going to be called automatically. So let me show you how to just make instances of the classes. So in order to make the instances, you have to give the name to that object. So first of all, let me say the bird will be penguin. So penguin is my bird. So this is the name. So this is the name of the object. So after that, you have to type the class's name. So that is bird. Okay, we are just making a class name here, bird. So this is a bird, and give the parenthesis. So I have told you before that to make the object of the class, the first method that is going to be invoked is this constructor. So when you just pass this as a bird, when you just create this penguin as an object of this bird class, this method is going to be called automatically. And if you see here, we have different argument to this function or the method. So first is self. So self is particularly just denoting that this is the current object. So self should not be assigned, but this name and age should be assigned. So let's give the name and the age to this bird. So the penguin bird will be he. Okay, I'm just giving the name randomly, and the age is, let me say, 4. So if you do this, then you have created the penguin object of this bird class, and this method is going to be invoked. And if you see here self, so if you see here, this self is pointing to this particular object. That means you need not have to explicitly assign this self value over here. You need not have to be passed, but except self, all of these arguments should have the positional argument right here. So we are just giving he to this name, we are giving 4 to this age. Now if you see here, this self is pointing to this particular penguin. That means we are making this name and age of this bird class pointing to this penguin, and we are just denoting that this name should be he and this age should be 4. That means we are assigning this he and 4 to the object class attribute. So if I talk here about this attribute or the properties of the object, that is name and age, that means we are just saying something like, okay, assign this bird name and age as the class attribute. So we are just doing that. So let me just roll it back again, and now if you just see here, we are creating this penguin class. So that means we have now name and we have now age. But let's go over here, and we have to now call the sing method. Let me just call this sing method. So sing method is not the init method or the constructor. So in order to call any other method that is beyond that normal method or basically constructor, that is going to be called with the object. So first of all, just give the object name which we just created over here, that is penguin dot sing. So dot is to be given period, and this method is to be called. So if I say penguin dot sing, and now we have to pass song, because I have already told self is not to be assigned by anything, but the song has to be assigned. So if I say hello is the song that the penguin is singing, so if I just call this, then let's see if this is going to work or not. So obviously this is not going to work, and I'll show you why. So it is saying that name is not defined. So let's go and see why it is not defined. So the interpreter is not showing any error while creating the object. That means we have successfully created the penguin object, but while defining or while calling this sing method over here from this object, we are getting error. So hello has been passed as a song. If we see here, this song is not the attribute of the class. If it has to be attribute of the class, it should be assigned over here, and it should be given with the name of self dot song to be the song, because we have to assign it with the self, because we are just denoting to this class attribute, but it is not the song which is the attribute. That means you don't need to just do something like self dot song, because it is not your class attribute. But if you see this name is class attribute, which is this attribute. We are not passing anything from here, so that means it should have self dot name, which is just denoting to this penguin object and this song. So if I save this again and let's press F5, and okay, it is not doing anything because we're just returning, but we are not printing. Let's go over here and print this. Let's save this, press F5. It is saying he sings hello. He was the bird name. Obviously let's give something name here. Green is bird name, and it is saying hello is singing. So let's save this and press F5. Then it is saying green sings hello. That means we have now successfully called this sing method of this bird class from this object, which is penguin object. So you can see we are making the instances here. So this is instance, which is obviously the object penguin, and it is called from this bird class. And if you just make the instances, the class, or basically the method that is going to be invoked automatically is this init method, which is obviously your constructor, and this self is just denoting to this object. That means we don't need to pass anything to the self. And after that, this is all the positional argument which should be passed while calling this bird class, and that is with the green is the name, 4 is the age. If you want to reference the age, you can just go here and let's see, sings and his age is, you can format now. But now we're just passing self.name at this position, song is passed at this position, and age should be passed at this placeholder. But now again, if you say something like only age, let's save this and press F5, then it is not going to run again, because age is not defined, because age is the class attribute. So if you want to access the class attribute, it should be from this self. So if you just remember, or if you are from any other programming language like Java, it should be something like this in the case of Java. So this is in the case of Java, we are just pointing to the particular object, and in the case of Python, it is done with self keyword. Let's save this and press F5, and it will show us green sings hello hello and his age is 4. So we have successfully created the bird class over here, penguin, and we have seen how to just define a method. So next thing is, we have seen here the methods is sing and the dance. So let's create this dance method also. So you know how to create the method now. So it is done inside the class, and we'll say dance. And now the first argument to this method will be self, and we don't want anything to be passed, only self. That means we'll just make the function over here. We'll just return something from this function, and that is just is now dancing. So let's format this, and this should be formatted with, let me say, name. So if you again do only name, then this is not going to work, because this name is your class object. So it should be just referenced with this self keyword, because it is the class attribute, just remember that. And now if you just go down here, and in order to call this dance object, you have to call from your penguin. So before that, let me print again, and it should be penguin, which is your object. And in order to invoke any method of the class, you have to just give the period, and the dance is the method you want to invoke. And if you just pass here nothing, that means, if you see, I have already told that self need not to be assigned, and after self there is nothing. That means you'll just simply call this dance. If I save this now and press F5, you will see green is now dancing. That means we have just created the penguin here class. And now you can also create any other object. So let me say parrot is my next object. So it is also a bird. It is also created from the bird class. And now blue is the parrot, which is obviously not true. Green will be the parrot, but let me say it is blue, and 5 is the age. And you can now just call this, okay, it should be printed first, and let me again now call this sing method. Let's see how this works. So if you see, in this sing, you have to call with the song. So we have to pass the song again. Hey hey is the song. Let's save this again, press F5, you will see now blue sings hey hey, and his age is 5, which you just pass here, which is basically the parrot object, and we're just calling this, which will be assigned to this age and name. And now parrot is also singing. So you can see we can make the instances of the class multiple time or many time. You can also make another bird. Now if you make sparrow, and okay, sparrow, and it is also created from the bird class, and it will have the different name. Let me say or is the name, and it will be 45 days. And let's print this again with sparrow now, and it is also singing something. Haha is singing. Let's close this, save this, press F5. We'll see or Singh Saha and his age is 45. So one thing you can see over here is every object will have different attributes, which is name and age. So you can see penguin has different name, different age, parrot has different name, different age, sparrow has different name, different age. So each of these objects will be different in terms of its properties or the attributes. But if you see here, the method sing and a dance is common for all of these instances. So that is common for penguin, that is common for parrot, because we are just calling the sing and dance for each of this. So that is the important thing of the object oriented paradigm. Will make our object to perform different tasks that is from this bird class, or basically we'll make a class which will be a prototype from which object can do something. So this will be common for many objects, but just remember each of these objects is independent of each other. They can work independent of each other. This penguin can do something else than the parrot, but they will be inherited or they will be derived from this prototype as a class. So in the next lesson we'll learn about the inheritance, the most important programming paradigm of the object oriented. So let's see in the next chapter, which is going to be really interesting chapter. So this will be wrap for this lecture. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about important characteristics of object oriented programming, that is inheritance. So first of all, what is inheritance? So inheritance is a way of creating the new class. We'll make a new class for using details of an existing class. So we'll have the two classes and they will interact in a way that one classes will be parent and another is the class that will inherit some characteristics from the parent class. So let's see how this new formed classes will be the derived classes or the child from the parent class, and the first class, that is the existing class, will be our base class or the parent class. So let's see. So we have done a couple of coding in the previous lecture. We have just made a class, a bird class, that will have the constructor that will be called automatically when you just instantiate the object of the class, and the next one is creating the method of the instance, that is sing and dance. We have created a bunch of instances here saying the penguin, parrot, sparrow. So let's make a new class over here, and this will be also the bird class. We'll just go with the bird here. And now the first method, I have already told you that the first method is going to be the init method, that is going to just instantiate or basically going to get us idea of the constructor. And here I'm going to say that instead of just assigning some of the attributes or properties of the classes, I'll say bird is the class. So this is going to just give us information when just instantiating, that is this is the bird class. And the next method I'm going to create is info, and I have told you before that the first argument will be only the self here. So next is I'll just say print, and this is going to be bird. So we are doing is we are just creating some of the methods over here. And now let me say swim method, and in this swim only I'll tell is go bird swim. So this is the masses. So this is our parent class. So let me say this is our parent class, which is the bird class. Let's make another class now, and let's see, this is your child class. So let's make this child class. So it is also created by the same class keywords, and now I'll say parrot is my class. And if you want to get information that is inherited from this bird class, the class should be inserted inside this parenthesis. So this is the inheritance. So let's see what we just did here. We just created the child class, and if you want to inherit something from this bird class, it should be inside this parenthesis. If this wasn't the bird, if it was, let me say, penguin, then it should be inside this parenthesis. If you want to make use of that code, it should be inside this parenthesis, but in this case we are making bird, so I'll just stick with this bird. And now after the bird we have to define the init method again, because it is also the new class, and the first method to any class will be init. I've already told you before. So I'll just say self again. And now here what we're going to do is we are going to print something. So we are going to print parrot is the class. Let's see, this is the class. The next thing what you're going to do is we are going to define info for this class too, and this is going to print us that this is penguin, not penguin, it is parrot. And the next thing is parrot will just, let me say run, and I'll say self again, and just give some information here, run boy faster. Okay, we're just creating a bunch of method to this parrot class now. So I've told before that while you create the class, the next thing you need to do is instantiate the object of that class, that is to make the instance of the class. So first of all, let me say that is parrot is the name of the parrot, and let me just instantiate this parrot. And we don't need to pass anything to this while instantiating, because this init method is going to be called and there is nothing except the self. So self is not to be instantiated or given any parameter to that. That means it will just call this parrot. So let's say this is parrot, but if I say parrot, and if you just remember from the previous lecture, if you want to call any method of that class, it should be done from the object dot, and just say I'll just call info. Okay, and the next is parrot dot, and let's see, I want to call swim. Let's save this and press F5. So let's see what we have just done here is we're not getting any error. So if you just remember, we are just creating the instances, we are just calling the info method, which is the method inside here. But if you see swim, can you see swim anywhere over here? We are just making the instances, we are not making instances of this bird class. If it was the bird, then we don't have any problem, because info is also inside the bird, swim is also inside the bird. In this case we'll see that okay, go bird swim, bird is the class, so that is perfectly fine. But here we're not dealing with the bird, but we're dealing with the parrot, and still we're not getting any error. We are getting go bird swim, although this method, this swim method, is not inside this parrot. So this is the one part of inheritance. So what we just did was we just had the inheritance. That means everything that is inside this bird class should be also inside this parrot class. So what we just did was we just copied everything from this and we just copied over here. So init method is not going to be copied, but except init method everything is going to be copied. So this swim method, info method will be copied from the bird class to this parrot class. So that means we can call this swim method as if it is inside this parrot class, although it is not in the parrot class, but we just did inheritance. That means we can call this swim method. So that is the importance of this inheritance in the object oriented programming. So next thing I want to show you here is the super method. So if I say super, and if I just call this init, let's see what is happening over here. Let's save this first and press F5. Then it is saying bird is the class, parrot is the class, parrot go bird swim. So let's see, let's put it right here and let's show you what is happening here. So first of all, what we did was we just created the parrot object, so no problem over here. We are getting this init method to be called now because we are just instantiating this. So if you just call or invoke this init method, which is the constructor of this parrot class, we have this super method. So super is just pointing to this super class, that is the parent class. So we are referring from this super that this super should call this bird class and this init method is invoked. That means this print bird is class is going to be invoked first. That means if you see over here, bird is the class was the first thing that is going to be printed, because this is the first method that is invoked by this statement. After that it will go here and it will print parrot is the class in the next statement, which is over here, parrot is the class. And after that it is invoked, it will just call the info method of this parrot, which is this, and it will just print parrot, which you can see over here. And last is swim, which is obviously not in the parent class, but we have the inheritance. That means we can also call the swim method of the parent class, and it is giving us information of go bird swim. It's right over here, go bird swim. So if you see here, this super method is going to just deal with the super or a parent class, which in this case is bird. And the one way to just find child class and parent class is if you just make this class, and inside the parenthesis if you have any other class, this is going to be your super class or a parent class, and this class which is going to inherited that parent class is going to be the child class. So this is the inheritance which we just learned over here. So this is very important paradigms of the object oriented programming, and this is the important things to learn. So we'll see how to work with these and work with the networking interface while we hack and we just do some of the bunch stops in the Python programming section. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about list comprehensions, which is the important concept of the Python. So let's get into it. So first of all, what is the list comprehension and how it differs from the for loop? So if I make any example over here, so let me say for x in range, when we know the range function and how it works, so let me say range 20, and here I'll make the condition here. If x is modulus of 2 is equal 0, then let me just print my x, which obviously you should see from this code we're going to get only the even number from 0 to 19, and let me just print this, and it is going to get us 0 to 18. Basically 19 is odd number, so it is going to print 0 and 2, 3 and all of this, which is obviously the even number. But if you want to do this with the list comprehension, it will be more readable because it will be executed in a single line. So instead of making all of these line, it will be only the single line. So let's make the list comprehension in action. So let's see how this works. So first of all, I'll say number, and I'll say it is even number. So all you need to see here is list comprehension operation will just result us that is list. So everything you do here will result the list. That means we have to have the list over here. So let's do the operation. So first of all, here will be the expression, so what you want to return, and after that you will have the loop, and after that you will have the condition. So this is your list comprehension. So let me just comment it out again. Let me just cache this one, and let's go over here and let's paste it. Okay, it should be down here. Let's paste this. So first of all, it should be expression. Okay, so expression here is obviously the x. We want to just return the x, which is expression. After that it should be loop, which will be for x in range 20, which is our loop, and the condition. Now condition here is if x modulus of 2 is equal 0. So this is your condition. Just close your this list, because this is going to return us a list, so you have to close your list. And now let's print my number even. Let's save this. Let's remove all of this, and let's save this again. Let's press F5. It is going to give us the number, but this time it is in the form of list, because list comprehension will always result the list, and we are just returning or printing that list, which is the result of the list comprehension. So you can see, instead of this whole 3 line, this single line is more readable, because if you just know about the list comprehension, you'll see, okay, this is expression, and this one is loop, and this one is the condition. So you can do multiple things with this list comprehension. So if you see here, this expression is a single expression, and the loop can be multiple loop, and the conditions here can be also the multiple condition. If you say something like if, okay, I want to add another condition, if x is not equal to maybe 0. I want to have 0, so let's save this, and you can see now again we have omitted the 0. So this part was because of the for loop. So let me just remove again the for loop, and let's save this, press F5. Now it will just omit 0 from our list comprehensions result, because we have added the new condition saying that omit that 0. If x is not equal to 0, we'll just say x. If x is equal to 0, we'll just continue with the loop again, doing nothing with the expression. So this is the list comprehension. It is pretty much easy to do. All you need to see is it is going to return us a list having the expression, loop, and the condition. It is really easy to do, and the conditions can be the multiple. You can also add here the new expressions, the new loop, and you can do all of these things in the single line, which is the important factor of the list comprehension, making the code more readable for the programmer. So this will be wrap for this lecture. See you in the next one.